You expect to see the Himalayas when you get to Bhutan. You want to be quiet. Peaks, tucked away in the mountains, are old monasteries. But then you see something for which you were unprepared. A phallic symbol is painted all over the wall of a house, then one more, and one more. It appears out of place at first. However, these pictures are a part of a cultural custom in Bhutan. They are frequently linked to Drukpa Kunli, the divine madman, a Buddhist teacher from the 15th century. His teachings and tales were incorporated into Bhutanese folklore, and the symbols came to stand for fertility, protection, good fortune, and warding off evil. This is the first indication that Bhutan deviates from the norm. Less than 800,000 people live in this country, which is tucked away in the Himalayas, between China and India. However, its diminutive size reveals very little about its personality. A stroll through a town reveals that traditional Bhutanese architectural styles are still present in contemporary structures. The horizon is dominated by forests as you look toward the mountains. Smartphones, travel, and aspirations coexist with watch life and Buddhist traditions. Bhutan appears to be stuck in a different century from the outside. However, that is not the case. Bhutan is evolving. The fascinating part is that it is trying to decide how much of the modern world to let in, without allowing that world to erase what came before. And that raises a question. Can a country move forward without leaving its identity behind? To understand Bhutan, you have to look beyond its mountains. You have to look at what its people are deeply determined to keep. The peculiar thing about Bhutan is that, at times, the most modern option is to decide against modernization. You arrive at the capital, Thimphu. Intersections are traversed by cars. People move across the road. Surprisingly, life seems normal. Then you see what's lacking. Permanent traffic lights are not present. Rather, traffic cops use hand signals to direct cars through the streets while standing in booths. Traffic signals were once tested in Bhutan, but locals didn't like the change. Eventually, the lights were turned off and the officers came back. It sounds like a specifics. It isn't. Because modernization in Bhutan has always involved more than just swapping out the old for the new. It involves determining what truly belongs. Bhutan is unique in that sometimes choosing not to modernize is the most modern course of action. You get to Thimphu. The capital, cars navigate intersections across the road. People move. Life seems, surprisingly, normal. Then you can see what's missing. There are no permanent traffic lights. Instead, traffic cops stand in booths and use hand signals to guide vehicles through the streets. In Bhutan, traffic signals were tested, but the change was not well received by the locals. After a while, the officers returned and the lights were switched off. It sounds like specifics. It isn't, because replacing the old with the new has never been the only aspect of modernization in Bhutan. It entails figuring out what actually belongs. Bhutan seems to ask a different question. Will this change make life better? Or will it make Bhutan less like itself? This is in contrast to other places where progress is measured by taller buildings, faster roads, and newer technology. You are always plagued by that question, and nowhere is it more evident than in the way Bhutan constructs its cities. In Bhutan, you don't have to go looking for tradition. It finds you before you've even set foot inside a monastery. Walk down a street in Thimphu and something feels different. A bank looks traditional. So does the hotel next to it. So does the school, the government office, even someone's house. Carved wooden windows, painted trim, a particular slope to the roof, colors that seem chosen rather than default. This isn't decoration for its own sake. Bhutan actually writes this into law. New buildings, hotels included, have to follow design codes meant to keep traditional architectural elements alive. So modernizing doesn't mean tearing down and starting over. Sometimes it just means building something new that still feels like home. The same pattern shows up on the street. A woman walks by in a kira, still a core piece of how Bhutanese identity gets expressed. A man passes in a go on his way to work, like it's nothing unusual, because to him it isn't. Then there are the smaller things, easy to miss if you're not paying attention. A prayer wheel spinning beside the road, prayer flags snapping in the wind up on a ridge, a monastery sitting above a valley like it's always been there. A festival where 3 generations show up to the same square to dance, pray, and just be together. For a lot of Bhutanese, Buddhism isn't confined to temples. It runs through the architecture, the festivals, the institutions, the small daily habits nobody thinks twice about. Nowhere is that more visible than at Tiger's Nest. The monastery hangs off a sheer cliff face above the valley, wrapped in rock and forest, looking like it shouldn't be possible. It looks ancient because it is ancient. But what makes Bhutan different isn't just that old places like this survive. It's that the country still builds this way, still dresses this way, still prays and celebrates, and lives surrounded by pieces of its own past. In Bhutan, a tradition doesn't fade into something people just remember. People keep living inside it. What if a nation ceased to ask, "How much money did we make? How well are our people actually living?" he began to ask. That seems like a nearly impossible question. However, Bhutan has been attempting to respond to it for decades. Bhutan gained notoriety for gross national happiness, GNH, an approach that considers well-being through areas like health, education, environmental protection, cultural resilience, good governance, living standards, and community vitality, rather than treating economic growth as the whole story. This is one of the reasons the world was interested in this tiny kingdom in the Himalayas. However, there is a crucial aspect to this. Happiness does not equate to contentment. Even though a young Bhutanese person loves their country, they may still question whether they have a future there. Ignoring that tension is getting more difficult. Bhutan has had to deal with migration, youth unemployment, and mounting demand for better employment prospects. When they envision their future, young people in particular might look to cities or beyond Bhutan's boundaries. The concept of happiness suddenly takes on a much more human quality. Let's say you are 22. Mountains, prayer flags, and a culture your family strive to uphold were all part of your upbringing. You want a career, though. You're looking for freedom. Perhaps you're looking for a job that just isn't available in your hometown. What do you decide then? Keep all of your knowledge close at hand. Most nations think, bring them in, when they see a plane full of tourists. How many should we let in? Bhutan asks questions in response to the same aircraft. That choice speaks volumes about this small kingdom in the Himalayas. Bhutan has adhered to the high-value, low-volume tourism model for a long time, turning every deserted street into a tourist destination, filling every hotel, or packing every mountain trail are not the objectives. The goal is to increase tourism's value without allowing it to take over the nation. Foreign visitors are required to pay Bhutan's sustainable development fee in order to support national priorities such as infrastructure, health, education, environmental protection, and cultural preservation. Additionally, the policy has a deeper purpose. Bhutan is aware of what happens when a stunning location gains too much popularity. Increased revenue may result from more visitors. However, they may also result in increased traffic, waste, strain on delicate ecosystems, and a culture gradually changing to accommodate outsiders. Bhutan is attempting to avoid making that compromise. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the nation even closed its borders to foreign visitors. However, it reopened in 2022 with a renewed emphasis on environmentally friendly travel. This can seem odd to a traveler. When you arrive in a nation well known for locations like Tiger's Nest, you find that Bhutan was never meant to be the next crowded travel destination. The paradox is that Bhutan wants money from tourists. It wants its mountains, monasteries, and culture to be accessible to all. But it also wants to be identifiable when those guests eventually depart. And maybe that's the true question at the core of Bhutan's tourism strategy. How do you accept the world without allowing it to totally alter who you are? What would happen if one of the world's smallest economies discovered that its greatest wealth was already flowing down from the mountains? Bhutan's rivers are not particularly picturesque. They are powerful. More than 70% of Bhutan's land is still covered by forests, as required by the country's constitution to maintain at least 60% forest cover at all times. Bhutan took a different approach. Its forests protect wildlife, store carbon, hold mountain soil together, and help regulate the Himalayan climate. Bhutan is renowned for being one of the few countries on Earth that absorbs more carbon dioxide than it emits. But there's more to the mountain's gift. Water from the Himalayas pours down through steep valleys each year. Some of that natural force has been converted into hydropower in Bhutan. Bhutan's economy is heavily reliant on electricity, which it exports in excess, particularly to India, its neighbor. Consider the distinction. Even without massive coal reserves or oil fields, a nation can profit from something as basic as water falling downhill. Water is not an abstract resource for a family that lives close to a river. It's a part of what they see every morning. A community's economy can be fueled by the mountains that support its homes, farms, and traditions, protecting the forests, utilizing the rivers, and creating an economy that works with nature rather than against it is Bhutan's unique formula. However, even this green success raises a challenging question. How far can a nation advance before development starts to alter the environment on which it depends? The majority of people on the planet already watch television on a daily basis. It arrived in Bhutan in 1999. That one year was a silent turning point. Bhutan maintained a way of life shaped by mountains, Buddhism, and deeply ingrained customs for many generations while remaining comparatively isolated. All of a sudden, there was no need to travel across borders for the outside world to enter a Bhutanese home. A screen was all that was needed. Television initially provided amusement and a glimpse into regions that the majority of Bhutanese people were unfamiliar with. However, it also introduced a more potent concept: comparison. Now an adolescent could see how people lived thousands of miles away in Europe, America, or India, and speculate about what life might be like outside of the mountains. The internet followed. In contrast to television, the internet did more than just present Bhutan with the outside world. It gave Bhutan a chance to respond. Information was made available to students. Companies acquired new clients. Families could talk to each other over long distances. Over time, digital commerce, online services, and banking became commonplace. These days, younger Bhutanese are particularly influenced by social media and smartphones, and that produces an intriguing tension. In the morning, a young person might stroll by a centuries-old monastery, and that same evening they might browse YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok. It is now possible to have two worlds in one hand. There is still the old Bhutan. However, the digital world is advancing more quickly than any mountain road could, and that might be Bhutan's most surprising change. The speed at which the outside world could enter the kingdom used to be restricted. The outside world now fits inside a pocket. The question now is how Bhutan can join the modern world without losing its identity, rather than whether it can keep the outside world out. Staying home is no longer enough, and happiness is the hardest thing to find. Mountains, monasteries, communities, and traditions have provided Bhutanese life with a sense of identity for centuries. But today a question hangs over the heads of young Bhutanese as they reach adulthood. What if they are looking for a future somewhere else? As you walk through Thimphu, you sense the contradiction. Cafes, smartphones, offices, cars, and global brands, along with prayer flags and ancient traditions, are springing up. A kid can grow up hearing traditional songs while watching Australian life on a phone nearby. And that changes our expectations. Education has created opportunities, but it has also made us aware of the outside world from Bhutan. Some young people may find that studying or working overseas provides them with experiences, better pay, and more career options than they would get in a small domestic economy. Australia has become more important for Bhutanese workers and students, but in every departure, there is a human question at the core of it. Who's left? A nation can protect its forests. It might preserve monasteries. Happiness is measurable, but time cannot be stopped. Bhutan now has to strike a careful balance between protecting the environment and culture that make the nation special and providing enough jobs and opportunities for its youth. This is the point at which Bhutan's conception of happiness becomes nuanced, because living in harmony is not the only way to be happy. Sometimes it's about having an option, the decision to remain, the decision to depart. And above all, the decision to think that a future is possible wherever your heart chooses to construct it. Perhaps Bhutan never intended to flee the modern world. Perhaps it was attempting to get inside it without getting lost. That alters your perception of everything we have seen. The traffic lights are missing, the conventional structures, kira and gu. Beside contemporary roads, the wheels of prayer turn. Buddhism in daily life, total happiness of the country, regulated travel. Most of the nation is covered by forests. Beyond its boundaries, hydropower flows. A portion of the story is revealed even by the internet's delayed arrival. Bhutan did not merely oppose change. It moved cautiously, but things are happening more quickly now. Opportunities that their grandparents could never have dreamed of, like the ability to study and work abroad, are now available to young Bhutanese. Cities are expanding. Technology is being used more and more. The economy requires new prospects. Bhutan also has an option. It's between losing oneself and determining what progress ought to entail, not between tradition and advancement, because preserving a culture does not guarantee its continued existence. As long as people choose to follow a tradition, it will continue. When young people can envision a future within their nation, that nation thrives. Maybe Bhutan has been shielding that all along. Not seclusion, not in poverty, not a flawless past, a feeling of self. Bhutan may desire more robust businesses, contemporary employment, faster internet, improved roads, and a growing economy. But it also raises an issue that is rarely discussed in the modern world. To what extent can we change before losing our identity? Perhaps the most crucial lesson for Bhutan is simple: moving forward is only one aspect of progress. Knowing what should go with you can be important at times. And perhaps that's the real meaning of happiness in Bhutan, carefully choosing what makes life worthwhile rather than living a perfect life. Bhutan teaches us a straightforward lesson. Progress doesn't always mean becoming like everyone else. It is possible for a nation to modernize without losing the customs that define its identity. Happiness is not the absence of issues. It is not wealth that possesses everything. It is also a denial of the future to defend tradition. The most important lesson to be learned from Bhutan may be that the future is not about picking between the old and the new. It has to do with what you plan to take with you. Because Bhutan encourages us to stop and consider more deeply what we are creating and what we are losing in a world that is always telling us to go faster. Perhaps making more deliberate changes to the world we leave behind is more important than merely altering it.